how did you guys meet?
We were both at a gay club. No. His band played with my old band, right? Was it that coffee house gig, maybe?
Yeah, that's
at
right.
URI, or was there a
URI.
show before then?
Yeah, it was the URI Coffee House.
That was 8 years ago? 7 years ago?
Probably, yeah, 5 or 6 years ago.
So when did you decide to like form Pink Eye?
That kind of came about kind of differently. My old band broke up, and I was looking for a drummer. So I had run into him at a show downtown at AS220, and I approached him and see if he wanted to play drums in that project, because I still had a bunch of songs together, and we still had shows that were going to be booked and so on and so forth. So I asked him if he wanted to do it, and for one reason or another that didn't happen. That band ended up kind of like dissolving not too long after that, and he started doing a different project with some other friends of ours, mutual friends, and they invited me down to play, and we kind of I came down, did a couple of practices with him, and then
Chris
that
Lichio,
turned with those guys, and then that turned into that band dissolved. So then I looked at him and he looked at me. I was like, well, let's just start something. And then we kind of didn't really go into it with any kind of set idea. We just kind of just got in a room and sort of made a little noise and just saw what happened, and then we went from there.
So did you start out planning that Pink Eye would be a 2-person band, or did it just sort of happen that way for the reasons
We
you
started
listed?
as a 3-piece.
Yeah.
Oh, with a bassist?
We had a bass player, and then not too long after that we ended up with a singer. So our very first show was a 4-piece show, and that was it. That was the last one of that, because each guy kind of jumped ship after that. The songs that we played that were written for a 4-piece are kind of obvious to the songs that were written as we kept. Like I said, we did the show, and those guys kind of went off and did their own thing. One guy just didn't have time to do it because of work and girlfriend life, and then our friend Mike, who was singing, just kind of was going through like a bad patch and just couldn't, basically said he couldn't put the time into doing it. You know what I mean? So moving forward from there, we said, okay, well now we have to kind of rethink this a little bit, and then just kind of restructured the way we worked about songs and that kind of thing, so it wasn't as empty or loose. You know what I mean? Because when you're dealing with a bass player that fills up space and a singer that fills up space, consequently, when you pull those two instruments out, all of a sudden things sound very stark and naked, and you're like, okay, has this song, like certain songs we had to drop because they just didn't work, in a 2-piece mode, where other songs, were able to squeak by and are like okay with it, or had to rework them ever so slightly. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Like 2-piece bands is a grind, because neither one of us can stop. There's really no dead air in there, and if there is, it's a poignant part of the song. Other than that, you're constantly moving, you're constantly doing stuff. and you're constantly in focus. So if one of us fucks up, it's really obvious.
Yeah.
There's no place to hide.
Mm-hmm. So it's much more work for us. And in general, we decided up the tempo, up the noise.
Yeah, sort of up the energy level of it all too. You mean, obviously when we're practicing, we're down there, we're kind of just like sitting still and focusing on what we're doing. Live, it's a little more entertaining, a little more movement, a little more vibes, a little more alcohol.
Style, or made you unique? Pick other
You have to play harder. That's for done. It'll keep your chops up because, like I said, when it's just the two of us, you mean, it's not like he's sitting back there doing like, you know, your simple rat-a-tat kind of beats. You know, we try to liven it up and put it like 110% of what we can do in there. If there's air in there or space in there, we usually try to fill it up with something, with notes or like a drum fill or something to that effect. But we try not to let it get too overboard too, where it gets just to be like a cacophony or too clustered. Yeah. But at the same time, it definitely helps our playing. Like when you play in other bands, you realize you're like, you know, if you sit in with someone else and it's like a 4-piece band, you're like, wow, this is easy. Like, I don't have to play super loud. I don't have to hold down this all the time. Oh, look, I can break off and do this. And it gives you a little more freedom with other people. Whereas 2-piece, you have to follow the guideline. You can't get too freeform.
Yeah.
Or it'll sound silly.
Ironically, we have a song that we call Slow Song, and we're out of breath by the time we're done with playing
it's a struggle to play it. It's not slow.
It's not slow.
In the past, like, I've played in 2-piece bands in the past because of similar situations where it's just like you want to get your band going, but you can't find the right people to play, so it's just like, fuck it, we'll just go out there and do some shows. And, you know, and then luckily I met another guitar player because of that, and the singer came on board. That's when kind of the same goal we have with this. It's just like, screw it, we'll just keep playing shows, and then if someone wants to jump on board, if they can fit the bill, cool. If not, I mean, some people have come down and practiced with us, and it's been like, it's just like, oh God, turn that kid off. And other times it's been like, okay, oh, that kind of works, and then, you know, it's just a matter of time if they want to do it or put the energy into it. Started recording here, so 2013. So it's been about 2 years. I'd say a little over 2 years. Because like when we first started doing it was kind of like baby steps. It was just like we ended up getting a rehearsal space, and we're just like, oh, let's just jam and see what happens. As often as possible.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not against playing like twice a month, but the problem with Rhode Island is it's kind of a little like a sticky situation because, you know, say you get a show at AS220 on, you know, early in the month, and then you get a show at like Firehouse 13 at the end of the month. It's like, well, who the hell's going to go see you twice within the same month? And that people get kind of like grimy about that. They're like, well, you know, you just play it, I'm not going to come down again. So your friends will show up and people you know, but people that, you know, aren't our friends that do kind of seek us out when we're playing, oh, Pink Eye's pretty cool, we'll see that.
Up more, yeah.
It's tough. And the way the venues are around here in general right now, it's kind of difficult too. Like this show we're playing on Saturday, we're playing in a mill, and a friend of ours, bands, you know, got a show over at like Machines with Magnets. So it's like, oh Christ, it's like we're competing against like people we want to go see as well, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, so what are you supposed to do? So it gets tough, but you mean if we could play a show a month, I'd be cool with that. If not more, I'm cool with that too. But like I said, as long as it wasn't just Providence, it's small, and there's only a handful of places that would even allow us to play like the kind of stuff we do, you know. We only got what? 2 left? Slow. Reach. And master dorsal, and then that new one. Which one do you want to do? Right now.
Let's do.
I'd like to tour. I'd especially love to get out of America and go tour Europe.
Yeah,
I think that would be a
that'd
lot
be
more
amazing.
entertaining, or even Japan for that matter. But you gotta walk before you can crawl. Like right now, we just finished up doing like this recording, the 4 songs, and we're still trying to figure out what to do with that. Hey, do we put it out on vinyl? Do we just do a MP3 kind of thing for like iTunes or that kind of thing? And because we recorded it as a 2-piece too, I've been struggling with the fact that I'm just like, oh, should we, put a bass on there and record it that way and put it out? Because in my mind, I still hear some of that stuff. But so that's kind of like where we are right now with that. But if anyone came up and said, hey, you want to do a tour? Sure. Beat's working. Yeah, my stupid job.
You got a full album anytime soon?
Well, once we're done with this one, I think that'd kind of be the catalyst to see what we're going to do moving forward. Like, if it's received well, if people give a rat's ass, if we give a rat's ass, if it was more of a I'm not a big super fan of recording anyway. I don't know if we've ever been in a studio, but there's nothing fun or entertaining about it.
No, it's all stressful.
It's just work, and then you're dealing with people that have their interpretation of the way they want it to sound, and they're sitting there tweaking the knobs and doing this and doing that, and you're like, no. You're like, don't touch that. I want it like that. And they're like, no, well, you can't do that. And you're like, well, what do you mean I can't do that? And then you have to, it turns into this big, long conversation about,
Yeah, if you don't know the Pro Tools technology, you're at the mercy of someone else.
So, you do your own thing, you do the DIY, and you go from there. But, in a perfect world, I'm sure we'd like to put all the songs out on one record, CD or whatever you want to call it, slab of vinyl. Nice big cover for the kids.
Yeah,
My arm
I'm
hurts.
tired, yeah.